Luka made a comment on his former teammate's Instagram who just had a baby. He said, "Congrats, hold on to that baby before they trade him." So Luka obviously feeling some type of way about the trade still.
That's one of the best Instagram comments I've ever seen.
Yeah, straight from the top rope.
Luka really identifies with the baby in this situation.
Solidarity with the baby. When they trade him, like, does he get like a warning before they tweet it out? Do they like ease him into the decision, or he just gets blindsided by it? I don't understand how this works.
Yeah, apparently Shams broke the news on Twitter, right? But I think it was Palinka and Nico gave their respective dudes calls like 5-10 minutes before Shams tweeted that out.
Yeah, that's so mean. So then what? So then he hears the news. Then does he start trying to call everybody? He starts calling Mark Cuban, and they shut their phone off and ignore him. What do you think is gonna happen?
Try and call him. Go. Wait. I'll be better. I promise. I'll be better. I'll lose the weight. No. But did you hear Anthony Davis? He was talking about the way that he heard. He said I'm about to watch a movie with my wife, and then I get a notification on Twitter. Oh, Anthony Davis traded to the Dallas Mavericks. And you know what? You're not going to be able to enjoy the movie after that, after you get traded from one city to another. No matter how good the movie is, you're not going to be able to relax and enjoy it.
That's tough. And his wife kept asking questions during the movie.
Who's
that guy? Why did they do that? I don't know.
Not related. It was just unrelated to the trade. Just some sort of behavior.
No, it's the classic. Like, this is a story. They will tell you why. Just keep watching.
So a good story will unlayer itself slowly. You don't get all the information at once. And that's okay. I went to film school, so I understand and I know these things. But I wanted to bring that up, speaking of trades, because Cooper Kupp, it was also just released that the LA Rams are looking to shop around Cooper Kupp. He put a message out on social media. Scott, I think we might have it or something on there if you'll throw it up. Yep. This is a tweet from Cooper. I won't read the whole thing, but basically it was just, I'm informed by the team that they will be seeking a trade immediately. I'll be working with me and my family to find the right place to continue. And then he just goes on to say how special it has been and to thank Los Angeles. I mean, this is a dude who just, what was it, 2021, where he was Triple Crown winner, Super Bowl MVP, top of the league. And now it's crazy. Just like that in the NFL, you can just become kind of used up goods and you're about to get shipped off.
This is what our running back coach in college used to always say to our room every morning. He says, football is a what have you done for me lately business. And so keep that in mind, he would say, because he was really mean. Remember last week I had that really good practice? What have you done for me lately?
No. What have you done lately? And it's just like that. A couple of years later, and then you're shipped out. What do you think about this, Scott?
Yeah, dude, this is like horse racing. You know, he was Seabiscuit at the top of the world, and all of a sudden you break your leg, and what happens?
Cooper, we're going to have to put you down, buddy.
Scott, can you hold off? We're going to get into our horse racing segment a little bit later. We're not leading off with horse racing again.
No, I can head that segment. I have lost a lot of money on horses.
Yeah.
Dude. Looking back at this, we were talking about MJ being the one who built himself brick by brick yesterday, or Mikey was. Cooper is a prime example of a dude who did just that, coming from Eastern Washington, very much overlooked D1 AA guy, and ultimately becomes the wide receiver of the NFL for multiple years. Obviously, we all know that the longevity of many NFL players is always hampered by injuries, and ultimately that's like what kills people's career, is just injuries upon injuries, and it's clearly happening to him. But I find it wild because the duo between Kupp and Puka, when they are healthy, is honestly one of the scariest in the league, outside of maybe T. Higgins and Jamar Chase over in Cincy. It's like you don't know how to defend that, and it's very clear when you have a guy like Stafford behind center dishing the ball out to those dudes. They're so formidable. So the Rams, I get it. They're trying to get as much value in shipping him off right now as possible before he becomes too injury ridden.
Also, the fact that, like, I always imagine Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, and Sean McVay, who's one of the youngest head coaches in the NFL, like those dudes just they felt pretty tight and really at the core of the culture of the Rams. And just what you said there, it is smart to ship them off or get something for them while you still can before their market value totally declines. But I would imagine that's just such an awkward and uncomfortable situation for a guy like Sean McVay to be like, "Hey, you're one of my best friends, and you're gonna be shipped off to."
Right now, your Kelly Blue Book value is too high to go on.
I've been hearing this rumor. Apparently, they're willing to swallow a bunch of dead cap to get him out now. So,
Really?
like, I don't know if there's some animosity going on or if it's just strictly business, but
No.
that's actually quite surprising to have heard that rumor. Again, I don't know if it's true or anything like that, but the fact that they're moving this quickly on Cooper kind of lends toward that actually being the case.
No, dude, I cannot imagine there's any animosity there. That dude is just top of the class in terms of character and culture setting. I can't imagine there's anything like that. It's like he went to.
Well, that doesn't belong here in LA, Nick. You know, that doesn't fit with the culture.
Whoa, true. You're right.
He's like the complete inverse of Antonio Brown. The exact opposite.
Antonio Brown. So dude, that's just got to be so weird. Hey, Mikey, we're going to be trading you to a different podcast. And you're going to have to move to Cleveland.
I got traded for a washing machine.
We're trading him to the other exciting Whites podcast that's soon to be launched.
So those dudes, cool. Cooper DeJean and Blankenship, they are trying to steal the thunder of being the exciting Whites. We were supposed to be the exciting Whites, Mike.
A buddy of mine, Connor Morton, who is the other running back in the room, we had that idea. It was going to be called White Walkers, and that was the podcast.
A couple of years too early.
I know. Ahead of the curve.
Yeah, ahead of the curve. Those guys are playing in the Super Bowl. Where do you think would be a good spot for Cooper Kupp to end up? There are some rumors floating around that Detroit might have their eyes on him. What do you think?
Ooh, that'd be an interesting fit. I You know, Bill Belichick is just licking his chops if he were still in the NFL to snag somebody like Cooper Kupp on the back end of his career, like he did with Randy Moss, unwanted. Let's have another 8 years of just dominance at this position. Outside of that, I mean, it's still a potential. Who knows? Bill may enter into the fray. Come
you and your conspiracy, your Belichick UNC conspiracy.
Never know. This is just such a deer in the headlight situation, similar to Luka, that I can't believe it's happening.
It's just got to be so weird. Just uproot your family. But Sean McVay has proven to move off people who are pretty successful. Like he moved off Jared Goff, who got to a Super Bowl with him. And he's like, hey, you're not good enough. Boom. And so Cooper is like still, he's not what he once was, but they did just make it to the divisional rounds and almost beat the Eagles. Like they played them pretty damn well. So this is not a team that's floundering. It's like, hey, we have such high expectations. That's not good enough, and we're going to move off.
Yeah, I mean, it is surprising with McVay, but at the same time, I got to give him some credit in making the move off of Jared Goff. Because if Matthew Stafford is available for you, I don't think Matthew Stafford gets enough love for how good he is and how insanely arm talented he is. Like everybody always gives Aaron Rodgers, love for that prowess, and it's totally deserved. Like Aaron Rodgers is elite, beyond elite, but Matthew Stafford is right there. And he's just been kind of overshadowed and overlooked because he was with the garbage Lions for so long, or at least when the Lions were garbage.
Okay. Thank you. Don't call them the garbage Lions. The Lions, when they were in a garbage era.
Until they win it, that moniker will remain very close by.
Well, they work in sanitation. He works in sanitation.
I work in sanitation. So a little bit of recycling. Well, they did just get decimated themselves. Their entire coaching staff has just been scattered in the wind. Actually, not scattered in the wind throughout the whole NFL. Scattered in the wind directly into Chicago.
To the Windy City.
Pun alert.
It was right there for the taking.
Pun right there. So, hey, speaking of trades, I do want to check in on you and how your emotions are doing and your family because of the Myles Garrett situation. And also, where do we think he might end up? He says he wants to go to a contender. Obviously, the Browns are the opposite of a contender, probably the least contending team. Sorry. Getting too aggressive.
We're 5 years away.
Yeah, 5 years away. All right, where are you at with Myles Garrett? Where do you think he's going to end up?
It's not incumbent upon the Browns to trade him. He's still under contract for 2 years. Like this isn't a done deal. Just because somebody asked to be traded doesn't mean they're going to be traded. So you look at Brandon Ayuk over the past year or 2 years. He's still on the Niners. They figured it out. There are multiple other examples out there that I can't think of right now, but Brandon Ayuk is the first one that comes to mind. It's just like, at the end of the day, money talks. So is this a business move on his part, Myles Garrett, to be like, hey, look, like I'm either out of here, I want out of here, or you need to pony up and make me the highest paid defensive player in the league right now.
You actually do you think that actually might be behind it? I feel like it's really he wants to play and contend for a championship.
Yeah, no, I think that is the truth, that he wants to contend for a championship. But again, I go back to money talks, and if you're under contract and you request a trade, an organization can just be like, okay, but
Yeah,
I don't
no.
need to do that.
Yeah, but then tensions rise, animosity comes in. Then
Well, the thing is though, is if Myles leaves, he's like I said, he has 2 years left. He's going to have to negotiate a new contract with a new team. It's not like somebody's going to pick him up, and if the Browns relieve him of the contract and everything. So like you could easily fall into a Hassan Reddick situation that the Jets were just in, and that could just be an absolute debacle. So I'm not saying that Myles Garrett would do that. I'm just saying this is a little more convoluted than people think on the surface. Like it's not a done deal that he's leaving Cleveland.
You're right. It's not a done deal. However, I do feel that there's just a little bit of hopium in your arguments here, that you're just hoping that maybe this is just a negotiation tactic and he doesn't really want to leave the Browns.
Yeah, no, the thing is like if he really wants to play for contender, he actually means it and will leave, because even if he gets a huge lump sum of money, he just saw the organization give a massive historic lump sum of money to an individual that ended up hampering their organization for 5-10 years down the future, just absolutely decimating it. So like there is some truth to what you're saying. Yes, it may be a little hopium from my standpoint, but if he truly wants to contend, I don't think money will talk in this situation. I'm just saying it is a possibility that it will.
I like that you refuse to say his name. He who shall not be named. Lord Voldemort.
Yeah.
Okay.
Quite.
Don't say his name. All right, we will see, Scott, what happens there with Myles Garrett. I want to go to Super Bowl week, media week here, because this video was going around of this reporter who got into he got some media credentials at Super Bowl week in New Orleans and asked Mahomes and Kelce these questions here. Will you throw these up?
Patrick, for your whole career, you have had so many great people help you win. So who is your favorite ref?
All the refs are great, man. All the refs are great. They do the best they can. Go out there and play the game the right way.
Is there one that you give a Christmas card to every year, possibly?
Not that I can remember. I'll have to talk to some of my teammates and we can kind of figure it out.
Travis, what do you love more, Taylor Swift or phantom 15-yard roughing the passer penalties in the playoffs?
It's a good question. Anybody else?
No idea how he got a media credential to be there. Seemed like Mahomes handled it a little bit better, but I want to get your guys' thoughts on this.
Yeah, Travis was absolutely blood boiling right there. But he handled it well enough. I mean, especially if you're going at it like personally. I think the Mahomes one was easier to deflect a little bit, and Mahomes is a master at doing that. But yeah, it got a little personal there.
Mahomes says nothing. He never says anything. It's actually an art. You never get any quotes from him that are interesting. It's just so generic media speak. Like he's the most media trained guy ever.
Dude, he's ready to be a politician when he's done and retired.
Exactly.
That's exactly what Goodell does too. He says everything without saying anything.
Mahomes would be a good politician. He would be good. Okay?
I would really struggle with those questions. I would incriminate myself. I would.
What would you
say horrible things?
No, Mike, you know what they should have done? They should have, in terms of comedy, okay, analyze this from a comedy perspective. Mahomes could have leaned into that a little bit more. He did a fine job of answering it and kind of deflecting it, but he could have been funnier and named a specific ref and be like, yeah, I give him a big Christmas present every Christmas.
That's funny.
That would be a funny response.
Yeah,
Lean into it. Right?
Yeah.
That?
But of course, people will take it seriously and misquote it. So
yeah.
Oh yeah, Goodell would absolutely fine his ass for that if that's the case. But
what's
the sake
the
of comedy
of these guys getting media credentials? How do you get access to the Super Bowl?
Don't worry, Mikey. We'll send you next year.
The No Warmup pod.
I have a few questions that I have prepared.
Yeah.
I have some musics for you, Patrick.
What question would you ask Mahomes and Kelce right now if you had media credentials, or Andy Reid? What would you ask? You know what?
Can I have a tryout?
Coach,
You want to watch me run a 40?
I would ask Andy Reid where in the United States, which fast food restaurant has the best burger. He's a big burger guy. Which burger he prefers? What's the best?
That's nice. That's a nice question. Also offensive.
Oh, why is that offensive, Mike?
Because of his weight.
He's trimmed up, Mike. He's doing a good job. Speaking of people who just get random credentials, Mike just shake his head and pop off. Speaking of people getting media credentials, Jameis Winston is there. I think he's doing stuff for Fox Digital this week. And will you throw up some of these here, Scott? Jameis Winston dabbling into the media world. We talked about it, I think, a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, about Jameis Winston needs to go into media after he's done playing football. And this tweet that we just threw up right here, somebody at Fox made the decision to give Jameis Winston a microphone and a personal cameraman and let him loose at the annual Monday Night Super Bowl week availability. That person needs a raise. The content has been incredible in several ways.
Thank you, my brother. Can you catch one more for me so we can get a clean W? Hey, you know, somebody always trying to intercept my stuff. You know what I'm saying? I ain't think it was gonna happen here. All right, brother. Love you, man. Can you
Jameis is such good energy.
in this free agency, man? I'm a free agent. I really don't got no job. Who should sign me in free agency?
I think New York needs a little bit right now.
New York? Who? Okay, brother. Thank you.
First of all, hey, Scott, the Browns should sign him back, okay?
Oh, yeah.
He's one of the big bright spots for you guys.
Yeah, at least for morale. Like, we definitely need that in the locker room right now. Some boost there. Glue guy.
That's half the battle, morale and glue guys. That is half the battle in football. It's a good locker room.
That was me. I was a glue guy.
That's good.
Didn't do much on the field. But.
No, actually, okay, hold on. Glue guys are actually, one could argue, more important and more rare than talented guys on the field. Okay,
I agree.
You know that you can get. There's a ton of really, really fast, good, strong wide receivers, what have you. But a really good glue guy in the locker room who brings people together, who's funny, who's good vibes, who's positive energy, like Jameis right there, or Mikey at Oregon State.
I gotta say, look, I would say Mikey was probably like Gorilla Glue to his OSU, but I was probably more like Elmer's glue to my team at Yale when I was on the sideline. So there is a variation and a range of what we mean by glue guy and quality of glue guy.
Well, Scott, Elmer's
Scotch tape.
Scotch tape. Elmer's glue has its place and it has its functionality in
arts and crafts.
First grade. What? You were not a good glue guy, Scott?
No, I'm just saying there is a variation. Glue guys are wildly important, but when you get that Gorilla Glue dude, like that's the key right there. And those are the ones who are super rare. And glue guys, you could have a dime a dozen for sure, but like that's what I'm saying is like they could just be like, okay, 5 of them combined equals 1 Gorilla Glue guy.
Well, yeah, just the same way you have different levels of talent. You have different levels of glue guy.
Yeah.
I think Gronk was a great glue guy.
Oh yeah. Gronk was
There's one. Jameis glue guy.
Yeah. Who else is good glue guy? Mike.
It seems like Fitzpatrick was a pretty solid glue guy.
Oh, that's a good glue guy.
Absolute good glue guy dude.
Okay, true. Fitzpatrick. Who's the glue guy on the Chiefs and on the Eagles? On the 2 teams in the Super Bowl.
Eagles might be Blankenship.
Could be. Or both of the exciting whites. Also, Eugene. Could be 2 rookie exciting whites. On the Chiefs, I don't know. Is Travis Kelce? Travis Kelce's pretty fun, loosey-goosey. Like, he could be a glue guy.
Yeah, I think anytime you have a vet like that who is that loose, that's the best thing for the team.
That jovial, I would say that's probably true, but there's an element, and this is probably a personal take of mine, but there's an element of like his jovial nature coming across as a little too like rah man, and it's like you're trying to get the cameras on you and trying to get people to look at you and hear you and listen to you, and that's kind of a turnoff for me because we're talking about glue guys in the locker room being great. Rah dudes who are trying to be glue guys are actually the poison to a locker room. It's like, no, you need to be quiet or stop talking altogether and leave.
True. That's a good point. Like when you were seeking attention like that, then maybe it's not as authentic. We're
Nick,
gonna
that's
say
like you talked about. You had a teammate, I forget at which level, who would shadow box in front of the mirror before games. Who's that? Just by himself. That's kind of like the rah.
yes,
Categorized.
that
Who was
is
that?
gosh, who was that? I got to think a little bit deeper about that. It might have been at Hotchkiss, but that is the most just inauthentic. Just, hey, look at me, I'm shadow boxing to get ready for our football game.
Or the guy who goes to the bench and starts trying to pump up the crowd.
Oh my gosh,
ugh.
yeah.
Any guy with a towel standing on a bench looking at the crowd. Oops, don't do that.
Oops. It's just always so often that guy is also a guy who's actually detrimental to the vibe of the locker room, who's actually probably whiny and complaining. And then when he sees an opportunity to do something in front of others and try and get some attention or glory, he takes full advantage of that.
It's like, okay, like redshirt freshmen in college who they don't play, but they're big sideline pump up the crowd guys. That's the worst personality. You are not going to have a career. If you're a redshirt freshman, you have your hood on and you stand on the side. You don't cheer. You're not affected by the game at all.
Yes,
that's how you approach it. Your redshirt freshman year.
Very, very true. Too much. If you're not suited up, also, and you haven't been in the game or done anything, you can't do this. Okay, inappropriate. It's just unseemly, and
cheerleaders are over there.
Cheerleaders are over there, and you were not one of them. All right, so there we go. Super Bowl this week. On Friday, we're going to go in a little bit more deep on the Super Bowl, and we're going to have a guest of a very, very knowledgeable football expert who, Mikey, you and I know very well. Scott, you do not know him, but you will meet him. And for those of you watching, it'll be entertaining. We'll also talk about Texas high school football, college football, NFL, and the Super Bowl. So that's coming on Friday. So that's why we'll go in a little bit deeper on there. But let's pivot for a little bit to college football, because Scott, can you throw this up? This college football coaching ranking came out from On3, one of the top college football media sources that we've got here. And for those just listening, just in the top few here, number 1, Kirby Smart, number 2, Ryan Day, number 3, Dan Lanning, number 4, Steve Sarkisian, and number 5, Marcus Freeman. And it goes all the way to the top 25 here. They've got Bill Belichick at number 21. That's interesting. He's never coached a down of college football. It's interesting there. Some other notable ones there. Yeah, Kurt Cignetti at 12. Deion Sanders at 7. What jumps out to you at this list? Do you agree with anything? Do you disagree? How do you feel?
I mean, if we're just talking about coaching and resume and what they bring to the table, the fact that Bill is 21 is so disrespectful. Like, he should automatically be 1, regardless of what he's going to do this season. Like, the fact that he's behind Sharon Moore, who's had 1 season of being a head coach, is pretty disrespectful.
Beat Ohio State, so he's good. Better than Bill Belichick. Well, I guess it depends on what your criteria are for this, because also I was looking, some of these guys, man, some of these guys have way more elite rosters than others. So, are we taking that into consideration? Because Kirby Smart at Georgia's got a phenomenal roster full of NFL guys and a bunch of 4 and 5 stars. As we looked at
part of being a good coach is recruiting and putting the team together.
True. Yeah. I guess that's a good point here. Do you guys think Deion should be that high?
I think Deion showed that he's able to build something. I mean, his trajectory coming from D1 AA at Jack State, or are they D1 single A now? Either way, regardless of him, coming from Jack State to Colorado, and yes, there was a whole lot of media hype behind them, especially in season 1. But season 2, it seems like he got the team to get big W's when they needed it, and fighting through adversity and really trying to match the probably unfair media hype that was behind him. I thought he did a great job. Top 10, that's questionable. But, I look at a guy, and this is way out of left field, Lance Leopold, coming out of the MAC prior to going to Kansas. But we're talking about a guy who's doing way more with far less than a lot of these guys on this ranking list. So that's I point to him as being this guy may have it, because what could he do with the tools of a Sarkisian, the tools of a Ryan Day, or the tools of a Dan Lanning? And it's only a matter of time until he probably gets that opportunity, because he's shown to be such a great coach. And it's similar to Marcus Freeman. I mean, yes, Notre Dame is wildly prominent and can get big name recruits, but they're not getting the 15 plus 5-stars that say Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State have been getting in the past. So like his ability to maximize his talent to a certain degree is pretty impressive. And then going down the list, the one person that's a huge question mark, or I guess two people now that I'm looking at it, are Lincoln Riley and Brent Venables.
Dude,
I mean,
yes.
Brent.
Well, I mean, I would bash a little bit more on Lincoln Riley. Like that era there has been so disappointing so far. Like so disappointed at USC.
If you get a private jet, a PJ written into your contract for just personal use at any point in time, you better be winning the Natty within 2-3 years at the very least. And it is just falling apart. I don't really know what's going on there because SC historically could get the cream of the crop, and something's amiss there. And I don't know whether it's like dudes looking out for their tax status and what the state sales tax is here, plus income tax and NIL being an issue there. I think that's going to start playing a huge factor in the future for a lot of these guys, as we're seeing even in the NFL. Guys aren't going to certain teams because they know that the tax status of that state is through the roof, and they don't want 40% of their revenue going to Uncle Sam or the state. So I think SC's up against some headwinds, but it is wildly surprising that they haven't been able to get on track with a guy who's supposedly as much of a football guru as Lincoln Riley is.
Yeah, dude, that's actually a great point now, especially in the NIL era here. That's okay. Some guys might be more attracted to a university in Texas than a university in California for multiple reasons. Kenny Dillingham of Arizona State, he's at 13. Maybe he could actually be a little bit higher because he absolutely turned that program around. Nobody really had much belief in them at all. They ended up winning the Big 12, getting to the college football playoff, played that gutsy game. Was that against Texas, I think? Was that against Texas?
Yeah, that was wild.
And it was incredible. Like, he should be in the top 10, I think, rather than someone like Kalen DeBoer, who actually ended up being quite a disappointment relative to previous success at Alabama. It's like, so some of these I'm not really agreeing with here. Also, I would put Marcus Freeman at number 1. So
there we go. I've totally convinced you to come on our side.
I'm not on your side. I'm objective, third party. I respect the team, and I'm objective. Okay, it's actually a good thing that we have an objective, clear thinking guy on the podcast like me, who's not just torn down by biases or my history of loving Notre Dame. So we can trust when I say something good about Notre Dame.
There's nothing more credible than somebody self-labeling themselves. Me? I don't have any biases.
I am so humble.
I'm the
number one most humble guy.
Humblest guy. Who the movie Pop Star, Mike. Yeah. Andy Samberg, when he goes, I'm the number one humblest. Great movie, great song. So this is coming from the most humble, incredible guy on this podcast that I have self-proclaimed myself to be. No, you don't want to put Marcus Freeman at number 1, Scott?
Oh yeah, I absolutely do. But I have self-awareness, and I won't do that.
Oh,
and I won't do that.
You said that in a way that indicated maybe someone here doesn't have self-awareness. Is that what you meant?
You can read between the lines.
Yes, I can. All right, there you go. Let's move on here. Actually, staying with college football, you click on the second thing there, Scott, on the attendance. This is interesting. This is the attendance percentage in 2024 per D1 ticker. And so it shows the different universities in their different categories of 100% attendance or around that, or 95, all the way down to 50+%. And down there in the really, really low attendance percentage, we see Stanford and UCLA in the 50s. Pretty brutal. But it's like even when Stanford is great at football, like Mike, when Joey was playing, even then, like the stadium was half empty and they were like top 5 in the country.
Yeah, nobody went. That's why they call it the library.
Yeah, true. They call their stadium the library.
Look at Oregon State up there. Isn't that crazy? That wasn't like that when I was there. I set the groundwork for Andy.
Good job, Mike.
They are standing upon the shoulders of giants, aka Mikey Alfieri.
Yeah.
Well, Mikey's not a giant, Scott. He's 6'1". So
6'1", pretty good.
Giants are extinct. Okay.
Bigger than average.
There's no such thing as monsters.
99%.
Okay, hold on. First off, I think the fire marshal needs to be called. Why are they even having a stat of 100+%?
Maybe it's when you have higher fans than like the official attendance of the official capacity of the stadium. I know that happens oftentimes, like with Ohio State.
That feels like the ticket clicker just double clicked on like 5,000 people as they walk through. It's just, how can you do that? There's not capacity.
Count as 2.
Oh.
Okay?
Oh.
certain sizes. But I would say Oregon State is one that I like seeing that up there. Gross that Oregon's up there, but yeah, people love going to Duck games. And then
it's not hard to pack out a stadium that's like what are they, like 52,000?
Yeah, Oregon State's like 43,000, I think. But it's an underrated
the new
stadium,
actually. Yeah, the new stadium is less. It used to be like 47. I think now it's.
Wait, is Autzen smaller or bigger than
Autzen's a little bit bigger.
Slightly
they
bigger.
are always sold out.
Yeah.
It's a sick place to play.
Yeah.
Autzen is 54,000.
Oh,
and then
close.
yeah, good job, Scott. You said, and Reeser is actually 36. So yeah, quite a bit. Mikey,
Wow.
what was the coolest stadium that you guys ever played at when you were at Oregon State?
Ohio State.
Oh yeah,
it was sold out. It was like 103,000, and then UW was sick. It was like 70,000.
Sick stadium.
Sold out. It was incredible. I broke my finger. That's why my hand looks like this, because of UW.
Nice, worth it. That's a sick
snap the
stadium.
fingers in half.
Everybody in our family was like a 1-year period. Like everyone broke their fingers that year. It was weird. Someone was going on. We were cursed with fingers being broken here. Any other spot? A Cal down there in the bottom rungs. I went to Oregon State versus Cal this year, watching Andy play his old team, and it was not that packed. That seems about right. Any of these surprise you, Scott?
None of them. I wouldn't say many surprised me. I mean, Vanderbilt might be the one that pops up in my mind. I understand it's SEC. It's kind of in the South, being Tennessee. But for how middling they are, that 95 plus is actually quite surprising for me. But we also have to think some of these people on this list, they benefit from the fact that they may be in a conference like SEC. So the Alabamas, the Texases, the big time schools and names actually probably juice their attendance records because people are going to see that team and not the home team.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, as I said previously, I am 100% unbiased and objective here. The Oregon State stat is actually pretty damn impressive, especially considering everything that happened at Oregon State, them getting laid by the wayside as the whole Pac-12 abandoned them, and they're still able to pull in a very good percentage. Granted, their stadium is smaller, but that is a commendable fan base.
Yeah, loyal. That's definitely the thing I pull from this, which is great. But when you're probably a third of the size, like I think Ohio State's like north of 115K now, at least north of 100. Yeah, maybe a little skewed here.
You want to hear an interesting fact? There are 11 stadiums in the world that have a capacity of 100,000 or more, and 8 of those are college football stadiums in America, in the entire world. So wow. Crazy. The other one's in North Korea, one's in India, and one is like I think it maybe Australia.
Can you really believe the numbers coming out of North Korea?
I believe everything that comes out of North Korea religiously.
Yeah, we film it. Everybody's in there.
190,000. We built it. Totally easy.
You can't look at it. It's close.
It's close.
Oh, this is something I wanted to bring up with you guys, and this makes sense now that we're looking at this list, but I recently saw Matt Rhule, the head coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, come out and talk about getting rid of the spring game or tweaking it up to where it's just going to be a practice. Because he's saying right now it's just such a detriment to recruiting and what's going on in the portal, because if they show something out there on the field with players or they don't give them burn at a certain time, guys are exiting right after the spring game, and it decimates them going into the summer and building out for the fall.
Main things for our guys is like not to forecast things. Obviously you've heard me talk a lot about let's not forecast our record next year, and let's not forecast the lineups right now. Like let them all go compete. All of our guys are going to have an opportunity this spring to either battle for the 105 or battle to be a starter, and it'll be a long physical season next year. So if there are 2, they have to be ready to be a 1. You look at what happened to us last year with Turner and Teddy, and all of a sudden Gunner's a starter. So, all of our guys have to have that rhythm.
No. I think that's actually smart. I think we had so many guys leave, and it's just so many injuries from spring ball. That's where most injuries were, because you ramp up too fast to full speed, and that's where like more than half of the ACLs and all those like big injuries were. And then we even did it. So it was like our spring game was like a half practice, half scrimmage mix. And half of it wasn't even full speed. That's where like it ended up being by the time I left. And so I think it's just going to continue to move in that direction. I think there's way more detriment than you get out of it.
I think the point about the injuries is credible, and that makes sense. But also, the spring ball is when you can, you finish winter workouts and then you're coming into spring ball. That's a chance for like young guys to hop up on the depth chart and really prove themselves and get more reps and get more chances. Granted, I mean, in this new era, there's some things that come in benefit of the student athletes.
Yeah.
They're able to get paid now and everything, but it's the Wild West, and now also the coaches here, they can do what they want, kind of screw over some of the other student athletes, and kind of sucks because the ones that are going to get screwed over are the kind of middle tier guys who probably aren't making a bunch of NIL money anyway. They're just trying to fight to be a starter.
Yeah.
And this is going to screw them over.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword for sure, because it's hard to fault coaches for having to do this, because think about how much time they're wasting on recruiting and looking into the portal and trying to backfill spots that guys just dip out on, leading up to like fall camp. Like, that's insane to have to deal with that, as opposed to preparing for fall camp and preparing for the next season, which I guess you can make the argument that that is preparing in some way, shape, or form, but it's a whole lot of, call it busy work, and trying to build that stuff up. So it's hard to fault them for going this route. But at the same time, to your point, Nick, it does hurt dudes who may have benefited from guys hopping out into the portal after the spring game, because they ended up 2 on the depth chart and they fought hard. But this guy ended up getting NIL money and ultimately handed the starting spot, even though they were probably neck and neck in terms of competition. And if that guy leaves, then that dude who's number 2 now gets slotted in number 1 and gets to prove himself come fall camp. Spring ball was always interesting whenever you threw up the roster and everything like that, because you knew it was just like, it was pomp and frill and just part of the dance, right? It had no bearing on what was going to happen in the fall, to be frank, because you get a whole new batch of recruits. Those are the coaches' guys, and they're going to be looking for opportunities to place those individuals, those new recruits, in opportunities to succeed. So I always thought the spring roster was kind of a wash anyways. Obviously you want to compete at every opportunity, but it was never going to be determinant of who was going to start in the fall.
Yeah. Do you know what happened to me one time in spring ball? So after a sophomore year at Georgetown, I started all the games, and then coming into that sophomore spring, I got injured. I had like a really bad sprained ankle right at the start of our spring ball. And then so I was off on the depth charts. And then by the time I could come back, 3 or 4 weeks later, got to practice maybe one time, and I was 2 or 3 on the depth chart at linebacker, and they kept me at the start of fall camp. So I had to come into fall camp after being the starter the entire previous year and be the third team and work my way all the way back. And they didn't move me up till first team until like right the week of the first game. So
they wanted to keep you hungry, Nick.
Yeah.
They were just dangling the carrot in front of you to make sure that you chased after it.
Well, I chased, even though I hate carrots. So
I don't even like carrots.
Metaphor doesn't work, Scott. I don't even care. So I don't understand what you're trying to say.
I don't understand.
Makes no sense. All right, so there we go. Interesting stuff with the college football world. Hey, big news, guys! And it's such big news that we have to talk about it. Bronny made his first 3-pointer in the NBA.
No, really?
That everyone's tweeting about it. It's a huge deal, and that we're going to even play it here on the podcast, maybe with no audio. Bronny hits his first 3-pointer in the fourth quarter, garbage time, and it's big news because he had missed his first 9, and so he made one. What do you guys think? Is this to where we have fallen as sports media, that this is newsworthy?
I mean, Hall of Fame, here we come.
The more news that comes out, the worse you feel about it.
Dude, yeah, I feel for Bronny though. You know, he's obviously trying his best and trying to play his best at any level he's at. But this is just such a insurmountable mountain for him to climb. One, having his dad as LeBron James, which I can't imagine that sort of pressure. And then 2, being placed in a position where you need to be just like him because you've been given such an insane opportunity. And he's going to pale in comparison. So I kind of feel for him, but he seems to be having his head screwed on right and probably staying away from the Twitterverse and
right.
us on the digital platforms.
Bronny is not we're not hurting his feeling because he's not watching us. No, I'm with you. Like, he seems like a good kid, and he's just playing his hardest and doing the best that he can. And just the situation is just so silly, though. And now he is actually the victim of it. I know on one hand he's benefiting because he gets to be in the NBA, even though he doesn't really belong to be on the NBA court right now. Maybe someday if he plays a little bit more G League and kind of works his way up. I know he's been having some really good performances in the G League, but hey, a lot of guys have really good performances in the G League who don't necessarily deserve to be on the NBA floor right now. There we go. I see you looking at Luka on the bench.
Luka. Oh man, pressed him.
Yeah, Luka's impressed. It is kind of cool that Luka gets to play with LeBron, I will say, because he said he was his idol and watched him growing up, and now he gets to be on the same team as him. That's kind of cool. Luka doesn't even look that overweight. He looks fine.
Trim.
Well, it's the long sleeve shirt. It's keeping
black long sleeve. It's a trick, isn't it?
Blend into the seat. Never know.
Yeah. I'm curious. I do think that this might be for him a huge fuel, a huge fire lit under him, because obviously, like we talked about at the start of the episode, he's feeling a certain type of way about being traded. Apparently, he had just bought like a house in Dallas the week before or 2 weeks before and was just utterly shocked. It's gotta suck for that to happen. Even if you're making a ton of money, it's gotta suck.
Yeah. It'll probably wear off fairly quickly, though, once he realizes how much of a behemoth in terms of star power, media, everything that comes along with being like the top dude at the LA Lakers, or at least 1B at the LA Lakers. I think that's what's going to be the most interesting part about this, is that he's coming from top dog status, big fish, small pond. Small. Dallas is huge, but going to the Lakers, you're right there with the guy who's arguably the GOAT, or in the debate as being the GOAT. So I'm curious to see as to what level of competitors they are, how that's going to jive and how they're going to mesh together, because let's be real, they both have wildly big egos, because they have to be in order to perform at this level.
Well, we do know one thing. This team is going to play no defense at all. They've got a lot of offensive firepower, and they're going to have to probably score 160 points a night to win, because
you didn't know Bronny is a defensive guru. He's like, that is his bread and butter. That's why he's in the league. He's an elite defender.
These teams are picking on Bronny. The second he gets put in the game, they go right after him. It's like when I was playing corner at Jesuit in 2007. Okay, the exact same thing. You go right after him.
Why do they keep throwing to my side?
Keep blowing coverages and missing tackles and getting toasted. So I understand the feeling that Bronny must have there, as everybody's going right after him. All right, there we have it. We'll save some of our Super Bowl stuff for Friday. Like I said, we're gonna have a interesting guest, and there we go. There's no warm up. One more episode until the Super Bowl.
Can't believe it, dude. We're walking into the void after Sunday. Just no football for so long.
We got to be creative. We'll think of something.
We got the UFL and the ELF. Okay.
Oh yeah, ELF.
ELF is actually sick. ELF is
also horse racing. That's year round.
Oh, dang it, Mike. We didn't get to your horse racing segment. I know how much you dreamed of being a jockey growing up. You were a little too tall.
I dreamed of being a 115-pound jockey. That was my dream.
It's never too late. Never too late.
You go get one of those surgeries. They cut off your legs and then you could be a jockey. All right, there we go. Enough jockey talk. We'll see you guys Friday.